Hi, it's okay, good. It's technically afternoon, so good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us at Nature at Noon. I'm Jessie Liebenguth. I'm the indoor horticulturalist, the glasshouse horticulturalist. So I'm in charge of all the indoor stuff, which includes the conservatory display, as well as maintaining and growing and producing pretty much everything that goes outside, except, you know, like maybe not the 10-foot Bismarck palms that we have and things like that. So I was mentioning, if we do have a little bit of time at the end, I could take you into the greenhouse real quick and just pop our heads in and look at the mist bench, because that is just like a sight that sparks joy for me. Just seeing all those little seed babies just cheers me up. So actually I keep it as my screensaver sometimes, just to make me feel good about life. So I wanted to talk about starting plants for summer production or growing plants in your own house, but I thought we'd do kind of a fun little spin, because maybe everybody already kind of knows how to start a seed to, you know, grow a flower out for the summer. If you don't, we can talk about it later. That's okay too. So I thought it's always kind of fun to experiment a lot. I do a lot of like really scientific, strict horticulture, where I'm looking at dates and scheduling plants, and I'm saying, okay, like, all right, this plant takes this long to grow, it needs to go out this date, so everything is very regimented. So sometimes I like to just play around and like have fun, because horticulture is fun, you know, like it's very scientific, it's very purposeful, but sometimes I just like to do funny things and play around and stuff. So I've got a lot of things today that I've brought. Either they're all from my own fridge, some of them are in better shape than others. So I thought it would be kind of nice to share just kind of some of the ways that you can kind of play around with the food, maybe either that you want to grow in your own home, like on purpose, or perhaps you want to do something fun, like your potatoes all went, you know, and like grew eyes on you when you turned your back, or like, here's my first example here, guys, folks. So these are my garlic cloves. Has anybody else, tell me in the comments, has anybody else had trouble finding good garlic this winter? Like, it feels like every garlic bulb that I've purchased, I go home and I cut into it and it's already starting to sprout. Like every single one. And I've bought like Aldi, Target, both Fairways, the West High V, like they're all like old garlic. So that I just forge ahead and cook with it and then regret that later. But so I went ahead and brought in a head of garlic. And actually what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do a little, I know most cooking shows have double cameras. So then they have their face up there and then they have the one down here. But since this is a lot of demonstration, I'm going to kind of hold it down here and we're just going to have fun for half an hour or so. So I took this garlic and just busted the whole head apart and just stuck it in some potting soil. I put mine on our mist bench here, because when you have a mist bench, you might as well use it. And I did these on Monday. So they're already sprouted up this far. I want to give a heads up and say that when you're starting your plants from little scraps, you might not always get exactly what you have in mind. So that kind of goes two ways. So I'm going to talk to you in the face. Just, it feels weird that you're staring at my stomach. So sometimes you might not get as vigorous of a material as when you bought it. So for example, here's my green onions that I've already kind of started to let go bad, but I'm also kind of a frugal person sometimes. So like, I'm just going to cut all these gross bits off and eat them anyways. And we'll just have to deal with like some little slimy bits. So, I was telling Sarah Merritt before, I've been inspired by watching some Julia Childs lately, where she didn't practice anything. She just did everything live. And so we're just doing it live. We're having a good time here. So when you're doing your green onions, you know, you cut off the part that you let get bad, and then you put that in your compost pile. And then, you know, I just didn't end up using this one. So actually, I'm sure you guys all know this. I would just go ahead and put all of that I didn't use for my big potatoes that day in a bag and put that in my freezer and then make my own stock. I right now only have an Instant Pot because we're renovating our kitchen. But, you know, I have maybe 2 or 3 big Ziploc bags in my freezer, and when those fill up, then I buy a chicken, I cook a chicken, and then I just throw everything in the pot and make delicious food. So you might even cut down into that white part for a special recipe. But then just this little guy right here, you can go ahead and put in a little water. Got this cute little dish here. And as long as those roots are submerged in there, it'll keep growing and putting up new greens. Now, it'll probably kind of be a little scragglier than, again, what you bought here at the grocery store. And if you're only growing them out in water, you might only get maybe 2 or 3 more cuttings off of these before you're just not, you know, like you're just giving it water, so it's not getting all the nutrients that it needs to be like a big, healthy, successful plant. You always do also have the option of taking this outside and planting it outside once it's nice enough to do that. I'm sorry, I'm looking for my toothpicks because this is a little trick that I think is really kind of fun, and you can do it with a lot of things. So if you don't have the proper sized container, you just stick little toothpicks here to make a little resting place for it. And then you're keeping what you need to keep up out of the water, but you're keeping the roots down below the water line there. So like, and then you could also like make it do a little dance or something if you wanted. And green onions are actually like a really good thing to do this with in your home because they don't need a lot. And then you're only replacing them here and there. I know they're not very expensive at the grocery store, but again, like it's just kind of a fun jam to do. Unfortunately, I don't have any of these grown out because, again, we're renovating my kitchen, so I don't have a space for this. What we did talk about, though, is I'm going to keep all of these little pieces and bits and pieces that I create today. We're going to keep them in the greenhouse for a couple weeks, and then we'll take a couple pictures and upload them to Facebook. So then you guys can maybe come back, you know, in a couple, whenever we post, and see how things are progressing. Because, like, again, like if I can grow garlic this fast, like that's pretty impressive. So the note about the garlic, I would just be cognizant of when that's going outside. You might, like if you're doing this right now and then planting out in the spring, you might not get those big, you know, beefy cloves or the big heads like what you get at the grocery store. You might just get little smaller ones. But you're doing it for fun, right? So let's do the celery next. I'm trying to like keep my cutting board not gross because I'm keeping all this food and I don't want my apple to taste like onion. So again, I may have let this celery go a bit longer than what it needs to, but the good news is, again, I would just put that like just do this and do this, and then all of this. I even brought a Ziploc bag for my stock, or you know, there's nothing stopping you from putting this maybe just like this in some water for about half an hour, kind of beefing this back up, and then you could put it in your soup and nobody would ever notice, or since you made dinner, nobody should be complaining. So again, the root end here, you can just take a couple little toothpicks, stick it in. I might go up a little higher just so I know it can go down into the water there. Put it in my little mason jar. I know this is probably bringing back some like sweet potato stress for science projects. That's also a great way to start to get your sweet potato slips to go outside. I'd go ahead and start that right about now. You know, put your sweet potato in some water, get it to put up some vegetative growth, and then cut those slips off and plant those out into your garden for sweet potatoes this year. So, bada bing. I brought my avocado because I am a millennial. Now, I will preface this by saying, please, if you do this, first be really careful, because there was like a phenomenon for a while known as millennial hand. Millennials love avocados, and you're cutting your hand. So just be careful when you're doing that. Oh yeah, this is a good one. And then this is the dangerous part. So I'm just gonna pop my knife in there because I'm gonna eat this for lunch here in about 30 minutes. Eat that good bad. So on this one, I might even, so you can start your own avocado. I will tell you that like a lot of things that you're purchasing commercially, what you're growing, again, won't end up to be what you think you're going to get. So you might not be getting the avocados that you think you're going to get because they're all produced commercially. So again, you can just take a toothpick and you just really break it off in there. That's good. That's my Julia Childs moment for the day. Go. So if you do this, also, when your avocado tree gets big, because this will turn into a tree eventually, please do not call and try to rehome your avocado tree here. Every May, we have an influx of emails and phone calls from Iowa State students who have seen this online, have started their own avocado tree, and then don't have the room, can't take it back, can't take them with on their internship, and they want me to adopt all of their avocado trees. And I have to say, sorry, we all have our own at home as well because we all watch the same information. So your avocado pit has a flat side here, has a round side. So flat side is the bottom, and you're gonna want this to definitely be in water, but not completely submerged. So your celery, your onions, things like that, you know, if they're kind of more underwater, that's okay. I've found avocado pits to be a little bit fussier, which is weird because it's a big, hard seed. You think it'd be very tough. But you want to make sure that it's half or less submerged. And you want to change this water out, especially every day or two. Celery, onions, those kinds of things, they could go for maybe another day, but especially because they're kind of, you know, starting to create some slime. Like avocados are just very picky. This guy will sit here and hang out for 10 days, 14 days, maybe even 3 weeks. But eventually it will kind of crack open and it'll send up your little tree. So we will definitely keep this one in the greenhouse for you guys to keep your eye on. Your avocado won't live outside in Iowa in the winter, so you'll want to make sure that that stays in a pot and you're bringing it inside and outside. Here are my beets, and yeah, excellent. So these have been in my refrigerator all winter because I buy a lot of beets and then eat them all throughout. So you can already kind of see, perhaps, we've got some green coming out of there. I don't recommend growing beets with the intention of harvesting another root vegetable for them. But if you like to use beet tops or carrot tops in your cooking, like a delicious, I have a good recipe. If you guys want it, let me know. I have a really good recipe for a carrot top pesto that's super delicious. So this just helps you grow more greens, you know, so some of those kind of fun greens that might be tasty. I would also put this one, you know what, I would even find like a shallow bowl or a Tupperware container and just put that in there. Another good use of your grocery store, if you're going to use your leftover scraps, would also be using your little takeout containers and just putting that in the little dish that your macaroni salad came in. But I like beet tops in soups and stews mostly. Although I do also like to put it in lasagna. So I think lasagna, you can sneak a lot of things in there that people that might not be vegetable fiends will still eat and be okay with eating. Another produce that's fun but will result in something completely different is an apple. So this one is the Cosmic Crisp apple. And when you're cutting, I wouldn't save any seeds that, like, see that one I kind of sliced open? I wouldn't save that one. I don't think that's necessary. Get the rest of those guys out. Now, apple seeds are kind of fun because you can't just plant them and hope they'll do well. What you'll need to do is get yourself some paper towel. I'm not going to pour that from the pitcher. I'm going to make a big mess if I do that. And just put them in your wet paper towel. Get a Ziploc bag and put them in your fridge. Because apples grow like not in a tropical situation, you know, outside, we can grow apples here. They want to be stratified, which is really just a fancy scientific horticulture term for keeping them cool for a couple weeks. So I might keep these in the fridge for about 3 weeks and then plant in soil. Now, when you're planting seeds, I know you guys all know this because you're all geniuses, but a good rule of thumb is as big as the seed is, you cover that 2 to 3 times in depth. So apple seeds end up a little deeper than some seeds. Now your apples are pretty much all hybrids. So whatever you're getting here, you're probably not going to be able to grow a Cosmic Crisp in your own backyard from the seeds you get from your Cosmic Crisp. But that's why I say it's like a more fun experiment. You know, you're figuring out what's happening there. I have a big lunch later. Take a bite right now. So the other really fun one that I brought today was my pineapple here. And you can grow your own pineapple. Again, you're going to need to put it in a container that can, if it goes outside, it needs to come inside in the winter. Pineapples take about 2 years to produce a fruit. So if you're in a hurry, like you need a fruit salad for this weekend, you'll still need to go to the store and buy yourself a pineapple. But if you're looking for a fun hobby and like bragging rights, like what kind of party, because everybody will be back to gathering in 2 years. So then you can have a party and say, I grew this pineapple. So pineapple. You'll want a bigger knife than what I have, but for safety, I brought a smaller one because I drove it in my car today. So you get a pineapple. You want to leave about 1/2 inch or so on there. And I'm not going to put this in anything today. I'm going to let this set for 2 days, maybe even 3 or 4, maybe a week by the time I remember to come back to it. That should be okay. What it needs to do is dry out and callus because this pineapple is so moist right now that if you put it into soil, even if you don't give it a lot of water, it will just rot instantly. So I'm going to let this set, let it callus up a little bit, let it dry out, let it get some of that moisture out. And then I will just put this in a pot. I'm going to take it out as soon as we're done here. I promise I'm not going to let this set. And just put, you know, your regular old potting soil. And I would just give it a little like scoochy twist, you know, like it doesn't need to be covered way up, just making sure it's getting good soil contact. But a pineapple is just, you know, a bromeliad. I know the top of this one looks really terrible. So through the magic of television, if the pineapple looks different in the next couple weeks, it may be because I had to go get another pineapple to get. If you want the instructions on how to cut the rest of this pineapple, you'll have to check YouTube for that. I'm just going to butcher it and eat what I can out of it and pray that that works. So, another. I think this one you're really going to like because especially in the winter, like when you go to the store and buy yourself that little plastic clamshell of basil for $5, like, and you go, I could buy an entire pack of 100 basil seeds for that money and I could grow my own, but it's winter. So you can actually grow basil in your home and you could even, again, keep it in water. So all you need to do is buy one clamshell and put aside one plant. And then what I would do on this is just gently pinch off a lot of those lower leaves because as we all know, when we have our floral arrangements that we get, any leaves that are going to hang out in the water are going to rot and make the water really gross. So you'll just put your basil. God, it smells so good right now. You'll just keep that in the window. And then you could either continue to just pinch and grow that in water or put it in a little window box. Or again, once we actually get real summer and not the fake summer that we had earlier this week, you can plant it outside too. And I'm just really doing this because it smells good and I'm enjoying that.
So Jessie, while you're tearing those leaves off, Greg had a really good question. He says, does asparagus have seeds?
It does eventually. You can let it go. I mean, you will let it go to seed from your own patch. I have grown asparagus ferns from seed, but I've never grown regular asparagus from seed. Now, my suspicion is that you can. I don't see why you couldn't if you harvested those seeds. But I think that probably just sets your timeline back for harvestable asparagus, like 2 more years, probably. You know, like if you buy the bare roots and you plant those, you get asparagus in 2 years, maybe 3 if you're patient and being good. I think if you grew from seed, you'd want to wait 3 or 4 years before you were harvesting, just to let that underground root system bulk up. So, I mean, you heard what I said. Try it. It'll be fun. So now I really want a pizza to put this on. That sounds really good. What else did I put on here? So the other thing that can be kind of, I don't know, I think it sounds more fun than it actually is. Here's my opinion on this. So, got these here. Cut these open. So you can start your own beans and peas and all kinds of things, you know, from your grocery store. Now these are actual like seed packet seeds, but as long as you're buying a bag of things that aren't cooked, then you can start those. Like, so if you get yourself black-eyed peas or cowpeas, then you could just sow those directly into the ground. I don't think they would mind, especially if they're dried, because they've probably been sitting on the grocery shelf drying and drying and drying. I don't think it would hurt to soak them overnight, just to give them that little head start, but just planting them just like you would anything else. I don't know that split peas would be as successful. But for another example, I have a bunch of sunflower seeds that we harvested from our sunflowers last year that I didn't get to roasting because, again, my kitchen came apart. But so the sunflower seeds that you're buying at the gas station aren't going to work unless they're ranch flavored. I'm kidding. But anything that you're harvesting directly from your garden, you can. I did bring also, just for fun, to kind of talk about it, I brought a packet of lettuce seeds. Because I want to show you what they look like. Because typically I know what we do when we plant lettuce in our own gardens is we harvest it, and then once it starts to bolt, we dig it out and we stick something else in there so that we can continue production throughout the year. However, if you let your lettuce bolt, it will go to seed, and then you'll get all of your little seeds. You could even let it self-seed maybe, like, and get a nice fall crop of lettuce too. Again, I can't promise you, especially if you're planting like an F1 seed, that you'll get exactly what you planted, but it's a fun way to do science casually, in my opinion. So those are all my things. I still have like way more seeds. So like, again, I just wanted to plug AAS real quick because that's what I had on hand. But, you know, planting your squash that you get from the store, your watermelons, peppers, any of that kind of stuff. Just chop it up, find its root end, stick it in some water, and go to town. So that is the official informal presentation. So let's get to questions, discussion, other questions about just seed starting or getting ready to garden in general.
So Jessie, you talked a little bit about AAS. Can you tell folks what that is and Absolutely. A little bit about our trial gardens and how you evaluate those?
I would love to. Now this is where it's going to get long. So AAS is All America Selections. So if you don't recognize this logo, you'll remember from my grandma's garden for sure, the shield with the stars and stripes on it. So AAS is a trial program that's been around for over 120 years, I believe. And it is a group of folks, horticulture professionals like myself, including other people at botanical gardens across the nation, other producers, other breeders, folks that run greenhouses, those kinds of places that all get blind trials with comparisons. And then we're evaluating, especially fruits and vegetables, on taste, as well as different things like disease resistance. A lot of the industry is going towards either personal sized fruits or vegetables that you can produce on your porch or your balcony. So instead of having the big garden with the sweet corn and all that kind of stuff, having a pepper that fits in a pot that stays nice and doesn't end up drying out 80 times per day. So then we evaluate that across the nation. There, if you go to the website, I believe it is all-americaselection.org, but if you just Google it, you'll find it. Oh, it's on here. It's aaswinners.com. Sorry, that's the old one. So then you will find both edibles and flowers that are either seed or vegetatively driven that performed well across the country in all different kinds of climates. We don't get paid, which is a bummer, but also ensures that we evaluate everything fairly. And so we have our trials out on the far side of the garden on the university there. And usually on Mondays, you'll see me out there harvesting hundreds of tomatoes, which we donate a lot of that additional produce to Plant a Row, because there's no way we could eat tomatoes that are coming off of 20 tomato entries plus 2 comparisons for each tomato. So every year there's winners, they're announced, and they're always available online for the most part. I have hit and miss finding them in, like at Earl May and things like that, unless you specifically ask for them. But the really nice thing about the website is that they all have, especially right now during seed purchasing time, they have a little pop-up that'll say like where you can buy them. There might even be a drop-down menu on some of those that will give you the options of which websites to visit and take you to those. I do want to say, I have seen a lot of things online right now about how there's a seed shortage and nobody can get the vegetables and fruits that they want, and we're out of seeds, and a very scary sounding situation, and that is not the deal at all. I promise you that. It's just that we are in year 2 of a very popular hobby right now, and because all companies would want to scale up at this point, but you can't because it's human people. See, you can't have all these people around. A lot of places are working a little bit behind, but you will get your seeds if you're ordering them. So I think they're expecting a little extra lead time. So if you're looking for anything special for this year, you should probably be ordering them right now. The nice thing is a lot of the websites that you visit will also have an option to alert you when things come back in stock. So I found a really cute, this is not edible, but a very cute gray poppy from a website, and I just signed up and they emailed me last week and I jumped on it and bought 4 packs. So there's not a shortage, just a little behind, so plan accordingly.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessie. What other questions do folks have for Jessie?
I need more apple.
And if there aren't any other questions, do you want to walk us through the greenhouse a little bit and show us some little baby things?
I do.
Awesome.
Get my mask on, because you never know who you're gonna run into in the hall. So you can see I look kind of devastated the space here. You may be interested to see, here's a bunch of vegetative annuals right now. So again, not edible, but since we're not getting out of our houses, how about a little tour?
So a cool thing about where Jessie is right now, most people don't get to go into the head house. It's sort of a processing room for, seeding and transplanting and pot washing and all of the things that we do with the materials in the greenhouse. So you got to see a little bit of a behind the scenes there.
So these seeds were all started anywhere between 4 weeks ago, even to like this week. So you can see everything kind of is in its own way. I know I'm like kind of bragging a little bit right now because we do have a very nice setup with automated sprinklers and heat mats. We've got a lot of fun stuff. So when you come to the gardens in the summer, you will be able to see these guys full size. So I just think that's fun to look at. And then this is where we're at right now. So ideally, a lot of the annuals that you see kind of right in front in the foreground here will all be going outside into containers in the next couple of weeks with forced bulbs. So it'll be nice and springy pretty soon here. And then we'll start filling up and getting ready for summer production and the plant sale.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So our plant sale is happening early May. And as we start seeing our tulips, our other spring bulbs emerge, we will keep an eye on when those are going to be blooming and keep a lookout on our website for extended tulip hours. We'll have our gardens open a little bit later so folks can come and check out the tulips later than we're typically open. And we will have some other programs and events aligning with that as well. So just keep a lookout. Well, thank you, Jessie, and everybody have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you so much.